At the end of this video, you understand why some people's hyperpigmentation clears in a short while and why some people's own actually drag out for years. So you have been trying to clear your hyperpigmentation for years. You will buy snail peptides, vitamin C, and you think that that's the only step to clearing that stubborn hyperpigmentation. Year in, year out, you are doing the same thing and you're not even seeing small improvements. But you don't think you should discover the real reason. So today I've come for you people. Get in class. Now today I'm not here to just randomly recommend an array of products that you can use to clear your hyperpigmentation. I'm here to actually educate you on what hyperpigmentation is, but I will hold your hands, don't worry. I'm here to break down this concept of hyperpigmentation so that you can understand the reason why one thing cannot work for that hyperpigmentation of any type, talk less of the stubborn one. I will then walk you through the different processes and steps and ingredients you can use to combat hyperpigmentation at its different stages. You actually understand why you need to use what, why only one thing cannot work for you. Now, I have to give a disclaimer that results may vary. There are times that you might actually need to go through, you might actually have to go through some specialized treatments, to clear yours, but I'm just talking on a general note. It's even possible that you're not even doing the right thing. So when you do the right thing and then months in, there's no significant improvement, then you can take it to the next level. Treatments only work better on a certain kind of skin anyway. Even when you do your treatment, post-treatment, you still need to be doing skincare consistently. These are the things that will help the treatment that you're going to do with the dermatologist to work. So first things first, something you need to know is your skin is actually not trying to sabotage you. Melanin is there to protect you, and that's exactly why hyperpigmentation happens. Now, if you don't understand why your skin is producing pigment in the first place, you'll spend years treating the symptoms while completely ignoring the cause. This video is not for you if you're just looking for like a quick way out. This video is for you if you really want to understand what's going on, if you want to save money, save stress, save emotion, and actually buy the things that matter or use the things that actually matter. Consider this a rookie class on hyperpigmentation. So we're talking about what melanin actually does, what triggers dark spots, and different stages of hyperpigmentation, and the ingredients that can be used to combat each stage. At the end of this video, you understand why some people's hyperpigmentation clears in a short while and why some people's own actually drag out for years. So basically, hyperpigmentation simply means that there's an area of your skin that is darker than the surrounding skin because of excess melanin that has been produced or deposited there. The key word there is melanin, because hyperpigmentation does not exist without melanin. Now, melanin is a natural pigment that gives your eyes, your skin, your hair its color. So melanin is actually, you know how we say melanin popping? We're literally talking about your skin is popping. But melanin's job is not beauty, it is protection. So think of it like your body's natural sunscreen. Now, every day your skin faces threats, right? Harsh weather, sun, injury, irritation, heat, inflammation, right? The moment your skin notices danger, it produces something called melanocytes. Now, these melanocytes start to produce melanin. The melanin then rises above your skin to form a shield. This is literally like the skin protecting itself. The problem is that sometimes it then becomes overprotective. Does that sound like somebody that an overprotective person? Let me be serious. Sometimes, the skin becomes overprotective. Now, instead of it to just produce just enough melanin to protect your skin, it then overproduces melanin. And that's when dark spots or discoloring on your face start to actually appear. In other words, hyperpigmentation is not actually trying to, it didn't start out trying to attack your skin. It started out trying to protect you. But then, like the overprotective best friend that you have, it then overdoes it, and that's when it becomes a problem. There are a number of things that can trigger your skin. One of it is sun exposure. The moment UV ray hits your skin's response, like we talked about, protection, is to produce melanin. Without using sunscreen, your skin just continues to scream every day, produce melanin. That's why sometimes I have a problem when people say, oh, I don't use sunscreen, and yet nothing. Because it might just be slower. It does not mean that these things are not happening. So here's the thing: if you are buying all the serums, all the vitamin C's, all the peptides, and you are not using sunscreen, counterproductive. Nothing that you're just wasting your money. The second thing that can actually trigger your skin hyperpigmentation is acne. So of course, when you have an inflammation, that's when you have acne. Your skin then responds by producing melanocytes. Remember we talked about melanocytes at the beginning. So basically, your skin starts to produce melanin to protect itself, right? This is what we call post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, PIH. Or that the next thing that actually triggers your skin or triggers hyperpigmentation is picking. Time you pick your face, scratch your face, or aggressively over exfoliate, you are causing it to produce melanin, and there's a tendency that it can then overproduce melanin, and that's what then causes dark spots. Because more inflammation equals more melanin production. So another thing that can actually trigger hyperpigmentation is hormones. I think that this one is, more popular, especially with women. Now, this often leads to melasma. Melasma is one of the most stubborn forms of pigmentation. This is almost similar to the first one, but heat can actually stimulate pigment production, right? I'm talking about like you're not directly under sunlight. Yeah, you're inside the house, but the weather is hot. Most of us live in very hot climates. The weather is hot. That in itself, even though you are not directly exposed, which is why they always advise that even when you are in the house, it's important that you're protecting yourself with what? Sunscreen. So now that we've talked about how and what triggers our skin, the next thing you need to know is that hyperpigmentation is a journey. It's not just one thing. There are different things that happen in your body that then shows up as dark spots or dark areas on your face. Now in this segment, we'll be talking about those stages and how to combat those stages. Stage 1 is the trigger stage. So something tells your skin something is happening. It could be acne, it could be sun exposure, it could be hormones, it could be friction, it could be heat. Something tells your skin that something is happening. Now your skin goes into I need to produce melanin. Skin responds by sending inflammatory signals. Now this is how to combat this first stage. When it comes to sun exposure or sun or heat triggers, use your sunscreen. Wear protective clothing if you are stepping out of the house. Wear hats if it is acne. Combat with things like salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, and retinoids. A beginner, I'll just recommend salicylic acid. It starts to become very serious. Benzoline. I don't recommend you just jumping straight into retinoids. For SPF, use at least SPF 50. And of course, wear protective clothing when you're stepping out and wear your hat when you're stepping out. Sometimes the trigger can be friction on the skin, so your skin barrier is damaged. For this, you need to use gentle cleansers. I recommend this whether you know whether your barrier is damaged or not. Gentle cleansers or barrier repair cleansers. If the trigger continues, pigmentation continues. We move to the next stage, which is the inflammation stage. Skin has become inflamed. This is the only reason why one little pimple can actually leave dark marks. It's also possible that when you have the pimple, you were picking as well. Especially if you were picking, I need a set of calming ingredients for this stage. Green tea comes in, allantoin comes in, panthenol comes in, centella asiatica comes in as well. Less inflammation equals less pigment production. Now the next stage is the melanin production stage. So at this point, for some people, the melanocyte starts to overproduce melanin. This is essentially where the dark spot is being manufactured. Now how to combat it? You combat it by using what we call melanin inhibitors. Inhibitors are actually ingredients that slow down or shut down pigment production to avoid excess pigments being formed. Common ingredients that fall under inhibitors are tranexamic acid, alpha-arbutin, licorice roots, kojic acid, azelaic acid, vitamin C, niacinamide. Now it's at this stage that most dark spot serums actually work, because then they are inhibiting excessive pigments formation or production. The next stage is the melanin transfer. This is why it's actually important that you're doing consistent skincare routine, because you don't even know what your skin has been exposed to. Sometimes the triggers are not even any of these things that we have called. They are just environment, things that you cannot, intangible things that you don't know. So this is the reason why you actually, like, whether or not you can see dark spots on your skin yet, you actually need to be using products that combat these different stages. That is why we talk about consistent skincare routine, so that skincare becomes something that you're enjoying. Right now, you're not thinking, hey, I give it 2 months to work. You're just enjoying it. You just enjoy taking care of yourself. You just enjoy taking care of your skin, the way it's also protecting you. Like, instead of it's not being something that skincare being something that you now use because of damage control. Now, step 4 is the melanin transfer. This is the point where the pigments that are produced are now transferred to the skin, right? So think of it as you have moved, as products being moved from the factory to the neighborhood. Now, the way to combat it is to slow down melanin transfer, and this is where niacinamide actually works. Now you see that if you're using niacinamide here, it means that you cannot use only niacinamide as what you are using to combat hyperpigmentation. It will not do anything. Now if you're using niacinamide at this stage, it means that a lot of things have happened. You can't then only be using niacinamide. Niacinamide is meant to slow down pigment transfer, but niacinamide will not necessarily stop melanin production. Now the next stage is stage 5, which is the pigment deposition stage. Now the dark spots are way more visible, way more obvious. At this point, you need ingredients that will gradually fade off this dark skin or dark marks. You need things like tranexamic acid. You need those, again, those inhibitors come to play, right? You need tranexamic acid, you need alpha-arbutin, you need kojic acid. These are the ingredients that will gradually reduce accumulated pigment. And this is actually where patience becomes critical. You need patience, but that's not to say that you wait forever. At some point, if things, as I said, at some point, if things are not working, then you may have to then go in for maybe a recommended procedure for you, but you have to have been doing skincare anyway. It is what is going to help pre-procedure and even post-procedure. So the next stage is actually pigment removal stage. At this point, the skin needs to shed pigmented cells and replace them with newer cells. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes skin turnover is slow. In case you don't know, skin turnover simply talks about the time it takes for your skin to shed old skin and replace them with newer skin cells. For healthy younger adults, it usually takes, if everything is fine, right? You're healthy, you're young, no health challenges, it usually takes 28 to 40 days for this skin turnover to happen. Now for older people, it usually takes 40 to 90 days. In children and teenagers, it takes 14 to 28 days. I remember that I was saying that as your skin turns over, pigmented cells are gradually shed and replaced with newer cells. If your skin turnover is happening as it should, then with every ingredient or routine that you have been doing, it should be relatively easier for your hyperpigmentation to fade. But for some people, right, their skin turnover is slower, but there are ingredients that then speed up the skin turnover. One of it is AHAs, glycolic lactic acid, mandelic acid, and retinol. AHAs exist to boost radiance, and they do this by speeding up your skin cell turnover. Here's your takeaway from this video. If you want hyperpigmentation to fade, you must be willing to combat all 6 stages. In fact, whether or not you even have it, because by the time you have started seeing this thing, you have jumped 4 stages. So you must be willing to combat all 6 stages and combat it earlier. That's the reason why we always encourage that you have a consistent routine. It's not necessarily because anybody just wants you to be spending money. I also encourage getting proper skincare with good formulations. Skincare is not just about the ingredients, not just because they have alpha-arbutin. It's the formulations. Formulations are very important. Every ingredient is only as good as its formulation. That's why sometimes you can be buying your glycolic or your salicylic and you are not getting results because formulations are very important. So think of it this way: having a great ingredient is like having a talented football player. But we know that a talented football player alone cannot win a match. You need the right coach, team, the right coach, the right strategy, and the right conditions. Similarly, skincare ingredients actually need the right formulation. So finding skincare with good formulation, and what that means is that it might not be as cheap as you would want for it to be. I'm not talking about hyper expensive. You don't necessarily need a $100 serum per se. You don't necessarily need a $50 serum or a 50,000 naira serum or a 50 euro serum. You don't necessarily need that, but good formulations don't come cheap. I'm buying something of 1 cent that is not going to do the work. I consider myself as wasting money. I consider it as being too expensive. Formulations actually affect stability. Now, there are ingredients that are already by nature unstable. For instance, vitamin C that oxidizes when exposed to air or sun. Loses its effectiveness in poorly designed formulas. That's why some of the vitamin C's that you're using are actually not effective. One is because of the fact that they're unstable. So anything could have exposed them to air and it will oxidize, or they've been exposed to light and basically they just lose their effectiveness, right? That is very important that formulations for ingredients like that are very on point. This is to help maintain its effectiveness. Formulation actually affects penetration. Now, you need to know that no skincare ingredients, no matter the concentration or the percentage. No skincare ingredients can actually work if it does not go skin deep and get where it needs to get to work. There are places that ingredients need to actually get to in your skin for them to actually be effective. Now, whether a skincare is formulated poorly or properly will actually affect how skin deep it can go. This is why you can have two products that are the same thing. They contain the same 5% whatever, maybe glycolic or niacinamide, and yet one will work better than another one. It's formulation. Sometimes it's not necessarily about just even the price. Sometimes even your ultra expensive skincare, they still don't have good formulations. What we call, oh, my skin is sensitive, is just that you're using poorly formulated products. By the way, different products and ingredients react differently to different people, right? So it's possible that your skin is sensitive, but it's also possible that you just bought a poorly formulated product. Formulations also affect delivery. For instance, many ingredients actually have multiple forms. Take for instance vitamin C. Vitamin C has L-ascorbic. They also have MAP, magnesium ascorbyl phosphate. They also have ethyl ascorbic acid. The difference between all these three is stability, penetration, irritation potential, as well as effectiveness. So L-ascorbic, for instance, is highly effective, but is also highly unstable. Good formulations know how to put what ingredients and just basically how to take care of them so that they still get to you and be effective. I digress a bit with this conversation about formulation, but this matters to hyperpigmentation because when you're treating hyperpigmentation, you actually need ingredients that reach the melanocytes, stay stable long enough to actually work. So this is why I took my time to talk about formulations. Did you find this video helpful? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section what you've actually learned, what you'll be implementing, what you do before that you're actually going to stop now that you know better. And I will see you in my next video.